So the next thing I want to talk about is just some general information about managerial accounting. So I've posted a couple of things here under this folder or item called the Overview of Managerial Accounting. So let me just open up a couple of slides here and talk briefly about the role of management accountant. Okay, so from my perspective, the most important role that the management accounting profession faces is to help organizations make better decisions. And to do that, we need to understand some basic things. We need to understand what things cost. And we need to understand what things cost so that we can share that with management. And management will then use cost as a basis for some key decisions. Decisions like pricing, decisions like, should I add or drop a particular product or service? Should I make or buy something? I apologize. Let me just fix this. And so forth. So my goals for this course are to provide insight and tools that will allow you to help organizations understand cost and make better financial decisions. And I'd also like you to have some fun and get some interesting dialogue going during the semester. So I'll introduce and discuss concepts and tools, assign problems to assess understanding, and then we'll apply the concepts. And then we'll have quizzes throughout the semester. So in terms of what do organizations, so it says business, but any organization, including healthcare organizations, need to know. So what do customers want? What will they pay for it? And what will it cost us to provide it? And so we also know that even nonprofit organizations, as most healthcare organizations are, still need to make a profit, right? Still need to cover their costs. So it's essential that we understand what things cost so that we can properly price our resources and we can do it in a competitive fashion. Because when we don't, then it opens up the door for competition. So as I've mentioned, the key goals of the management accounting profession is to help organizations make better decisions and to also establish and manage a process for planning and control. And we'll talk extensively about both of these topics throughout the semester. And then we'll also introduce this idea of employing a strategic cost management framework. So I'm not going to go through all the slides, but there are some key things I want to point out. One is that information. Okay, so we know that gathering information and gathering the right information in a timely and professional manner can be a key strategic weapon. And so one of the things that we will introduce and talk about is, what's the key information that organizations need? And so certainly from a cost perspective, we need to know what things cost, but there's also this concept called the balanced scorecard, which basically says, let's look at our business along 4 key dimensions. And this balanced scorecard was developed in the late 1980s, early 1990s by 2 professors at the Harvard Business School, Kaplan and Norton, and a sense spread widely in many industries, including healthcare. But basically, we're going to look along the financial quadrant, the customer quadrant, the learning and growth quadrant, and then the internal processes quadrants. And we're going to try to figure out what are the key things that we need to do as an organization to thrive and be successful. What do we need to keep our eyes on? And then we have to figure out, how do we collect that information and how do we monitor it in an effective way? So we'll look at a bunch of issues, right? And that will be, what does something cost? And we'll look at the difference between an incurred cost and a committed cost. So I incur a cost when I make a decision, but the spending may not come for years later, right? So just think about if you buy a new automobile or a used automobile, right? So at that point, you're incurring you're committing cost over 3, 5, or 10-year period. And those costs include not just the purchase price, but they include the insurance, the taxes, the gasoline, the repairs, etc. So the same thing happens when an organization makes a decision or a commitment to do a particular thing, hire a new person, add a new wing to a hospital, develop a new technology, introduce a new department. So they've committed to a particular project or group of people, and that in turn, over time, they're going to incur several items of cost. And so one of the things that we have to figure out is, what the difference between this committed versus incurred costs. So some other things that we'll talk about and some tools that we'll look at will include things like cost, volume, profit analysis, activity-based costing. We'll introduce the concept of lean, etc.